Yesterday was Revenue Day here in the Senate, and we increased taxes by over $1 billion. Today we're going to deal with all of the other amendments that were filed, and as you know that there were over 600 and something amendments filed. Today I'm hoping will be reform debt, because the mantra from the Senate has been reform before revenue. The governor said revenue before reform. Yesterday we seemed to do the revenue before the reform. But at any rate, we have some additional revenue now. Now it's going to be, today is going to be, everybody took some tough votes yesterday to bring in revenue. But today, I don't think we're off the hook. Aaron, the people who are the biggest advocates of increasing revenue, said yesterday that the revenue alone isn't going to do it. We need reform as well. And I want to remind my colleagues that the minority caucus here has filed over $1 billion worth of reforms that will be coming up today, and we intend to ask for votes on each one of them, because we do think that these are important. We need to change the way we do business in the state. We need to make the providing state services more cost-effective and, more importantly, more efficient for the recipients of state services here in Massachusetts. We have an amendment to repeal the Pacheco law, or the anti-privatization law, that's made it absolutely impossible for this state to outsource any function of state government. Every other state around the country is doing it, but we're not doing it here in Massachusetts because of a law that was passed in 1993 to protect labor unions here in the state and protect them against competition from private industry. That could save between $150 million and $300. We have an amendment to get rid of this biotech life science bill. It's a bipartisan amendment. The senator from New Bedford is signed on. He's one of the chief sponsors of the bill. At a time when we're raising taxes, why are we creating new programs to give sweetheart deals to certain industries in the state? We're picking the winners and losers here in Massachusetts. I can think of a lot of other industries that are in pretty tough shape right now that could use some help from the state. So if we're going to be hurting everyone else with tax increases, I don't think we should be giving special sweetheart deals to the biotech industry. That would save over $100 million. Repeal of the film tax initiative. Movie stars, directors, producers are making a lot of money from the taxpayers of the state at a time when we can't afford to pay for basic services here in Massachusetts. That's $110 million. The chairman of the Ways and Means Committee did a pretty good job eliminating the advertising budget for the lottery. I know that the senator from Andover, that's been one of her big issues, that the state shouldn't be providing money to encourage people to gamble, but there's still $2 million left in that account that we don't think should be there. I'd rather see that money go towards the Turning 22 program or something that provides services directly to people in the state. So I hope that the senator from North Andover will join with us to get rid of that last $2 million out of the advertising account for the lottery. Managed care reform. Do you know, if we take a look at our health care system, it's over 45% of the budget. All the money's going into that. The Senate President's been terrific. Last session she had a major cost-cutting amendment to look at some of these rising costs in our health care industry, and those reforms are being put into place. But there's something that we can do right now. We have a plan right now to save between $150 and $200 million by requiring managed care enrollment for all Medicaid recipients. A very reasonable plan that will save the state $150 million. And if anybody wants to know about any of these things beforehand, we can sit down with you. The chairman of the Health Care Committee would like to talk to you about our amendment. We hope you'll be supporting us because you've done such a great job in the whole area of this new health care law, which we should probably have a debate on whether we should cap the enrollment in Commonwealth care, because that's one of the major factors right now for this whole deficit that we find ourselves in, but we can talk about that maybe later during the debate. Of course, Madam President, if we're broke and we have no money at all to do anything to fund the Department of Mental Retardation, Department of Mental Illness, to fund those services, why are we giving pay raises out to anybody in state government? We have an amendment that would require the state, that would call on the governor, really, the guy who's signing all these contracts, for exorbitant pay raises, 7% over 3 years, for a wage freeze. But that would save about $140 million when you count step increases and have put in a hiring freeze for the state. So I hope that we'll get some support. That's a reform. We hope we'll get some support from when we bring it up. We have another amendment that would save the state $10 million, and it would require agency reports to be distributed solely through electronic means. All of this junk mail that we get, annual reports, the state colleges are the worst, by the way. We could save $10 million just by requiring all of these agencies, department, quasi-public agencies, file your reports online. You know, we don't want the expense of having to print them. Very, very reasonable reform, $10 million. We hope we'll get some support for that. A sale of surplus lands. Does the legislature have to be involved every time the state goes to sell a piece of property? You know, the Governor Romney, for a brief period of time, we were allowing the administration to sell off state surplus land to raise revenue for needed state programs. The state owns a lot of property. We don't need it all, especially in this fiscal crisis. $25 million lowball estimate, could be up to $50 or $75 million, very easily. Something that we want to explore with the members here. We hope that when we bring that amendment up and call for a vote on it, that we'll get a few people at least that will recognize that it's a good idea and it's worth doing. 3-year extension for our pension liability funding. You know, probably not the most fiscally responsible thing to do, but we're in a pretty bad fiscal crisis right now. If we stretch that out, the schedule for 3 years, $300 million we can save. At least in the immediate, to help us with our immediate needs. Reasonable, because I think the governor proposed doing it for 2 years. Not a crazy idea. Eliminating prescription drug coverage, that mandate, not for recipients of Commonwealth care, but for other people who buy private insurance in Massachusetts. Why should they have to buy prescription drug care? I thought the whole thing was for individuals who don't need state subsidies. You know, shouldn't they have a choice in what type of plan they want to buy? A lot of people were doing quite well before the state mandated that individual people who don't need any state help, demanding that they only can buy plans that have prescription drug coverage. $10 million. Sponsorship of state facilities and assets. Why is the convention center in Boston still unnamed? You know, and we're providing the convention center with a subsidy. Let's see if we can get a sponsorship deal for that and other state assets. So there's a lot of things on this list that we're going to be bringing up. Again, we did the revenue before the reform, which was probably a mistake in my book, because a lot of people think we're off the hook now, and we can continue to do business the way we've always done it, return to the status quo.